When it comes to cell phones, Nokia is the biggest and baddest hitter on the block. It has market share dominance over all its competition. And when the market leader releases its new flagship device, expectations are overwhelming. In this review, we'll find out how Nokia's new N series device can take on these high expectations. This is LP from Techno Buffalo, and welcome to the N97 in-depth review. Hey and welcome back. Okay, today we're going to put the N97 to the test. We'll be taking a close look at the device's hardware and software, and we'll also be putting the N97 through some of the same tests and benchmark I recently put the Touch Pro 2 through. I'll also be taking the N97 on the road to see how its GPS navigation works with the software included on the device. We'll be taking a look at the Symbian S60 5th edition software and especially focusing on the device's web browsing capabilities. Here it is in all its entirety. It actually resembles the 5800 Express Music. It's not at all a bad looking device. Dare I say it looks quite elegant. There's a chrome rim around the whole handset, and to my surprise it looks fairly good. On most occasions I rather see chrome on rim of a car than on a mobile device. Sure, the chroming on a phone looks good when the device is nice and new, but after a few hits and some wear and tear, the chroming starts to look like ass. Other than that, the device has a unique Nokia-esque look to it. Unlike my Touch Pro 2, which people often mistake for a damn iPhone. The back cover of the device is raised from the edges, which will prevent the phone from getting scratched up when laying it on top of different surfaces. The cover comes off moderately easy, and under the covers you find the 1500 mAh battery. Beside the camera optics, we find the microSD slot, and under the battery there's a small hatch for the SIM card. So no, unfortunately there is no place to hide your small liquor bottle. In fact, I assume the engineers at Nokia ran out of space when thinking of where to hide the stylus, because unlike the 5800 Express Music that came with the stylus built in, this device comes with a funky looking separate one. Sure, you can attach your stylus to your phone with a cord, but seriously, you probably don't want any weird attachments dangling off your device. Probably the main reason for not having the built-in stylus is the fact that it's really not needed unless you like to doodle on your mobile device. The next feature I'll be covering is the system seller. The mechanism itself is quite impressive. The keyboard pops out with a bang. Even though the angle is not adjustable, the keyboard mechanism is one of the most impressive things about this device. The screen pops out so fast that it almost shoots out as if to take flight. Even my girlfriend was impressed, and she usually hates everything with a microchip in it. The keyboard itself has only 3 rows of keys. The keys are not too bad and evenly spread out. Even these fat babies can easily press and hit the keys. The layout of the keyboard is pretty standard, excluding the positioning of the spacebar, which has been moved to the right. After composing a few emails, the spacebar seems to be placed in a logical position and feels decent. The N97 keyboard is very good, but perhaps not as good as the 5-row QWERTY keyboard on the Touch Pro 2. Beside the keyboard on the left is a very functional D-pad, which is a nice addition to the slide-out pad itself. Like other devices with slide-out keypads, the N97 is a bit on the chunky side. It's really only 15.9mm thick, which isn't too much, but the device has a definite presence in the hand. Thankfully, the device is quite narrow, which makes it a better fit in the hand than, for example, the Touch Pro 2. Even so, the device is quite thick, and you probably won't be carrying this device around in your side pocket. A very distinct feeling I get when taking hold of this device is that the N97 is made for use. The phone is entirely made out of hardened plastic. Despite this fact, it feels quite sturdy in the hand. You won't be having to wear silk gloves when operating this device, and the phone feels like it could take a small beating. But it's always a smart idea to handle a $650 device with care. Holy shit. Ergonomically, the device is just appropriate size for single-hand navigation. Every part of the screen is reachable with your thumb. Even though screens on competing devices may have bigger resolution, the N97 makes up for this with good contrast and colors. Blacks are moderately dark and the brightest whites are also decent. But I've said it time and again that on devices at this price range, it would be nice to see an OLED screen, which are superior in every aspect. Thankfully, Samsung is coming out with the Omnia Pro later this year that will be equipped with an OLED screen. So let's take a look at the hardware in more detail. On the left side of the device, we have the lock key slider. Enabling the slider will put your device into sleep mode and lock the device as well. When disabling the lock, the device is wakened accompanied by a small vibration. On the opposing side, we have the up and down volume keys and the dedicated camera button. When inside the camera application, the volume up and down keys can be used for zooming as well. The front of the device sports only a single mechanical hardware button, which is the menu key. Beside the menu button are the two touch-sensitive answer and end call keys. Answering phone calls on the device is simple enough. You can either use the touch-sensitive keys, which give out a nice vibration feedback, or use the touchscreen itself for answering calls. Moving on. Thankfully, on top of the device, Nokia has added a 3.5mm headphone jack. I was pretty pissed off that the Touch Pro 2 did not have this feature. In my opinion, the 3.5mm headphone jack is essential because there will come a time on occasion when you need to hook your device up to some external speakers to show off your ABBA collection. Or not. You can also plug in, for example, your high-end headset. The device also sports a pair of stereo speakers, which are located on the side of the device. And while we're here, let's give the speakers a whirl. Nothing too amazing, but sound quality is decent. The device comes with a whopping 32 GB of storage space. Dare I say overkill. But if you happen to run out of memory, you can always add another 32 GB with a micro SD card. Okay, let's move on and take a look at the user interface. The Symbian S60 operating system is back for the 5th edition, and I have to say, off the bat, that compared to UIs like HTC's Touch Pro 3D, the Symbian interface is starting to look a bit aged. Don't get me wrong, the Symbian operating system is not bad. It's very simple to use and good in plenty of aspects, but when putting the UI side by side with the modern competing UI, the Symbian looked like something out of a cave painting. It could be that Nokia decided to stick with the old Symbian because of the hardware inside the N-series device, which probably can't handle a heavier interface. Even though the Symbian S60 5th edition runs smoothly with the device's hardware, there are times when it could run a bit faster. Screen rotation on the device is also quite fast. There's not much of a delay when opening the QWERTY keypad. The ARM processor handles programs with ease, and you can have simultaneous applications open at the same time. Pressing and holding the menu button will give you access to these open programs. The home screen is widget-based, which means you can add your favorite programs to your home screen to suit your everyday needs. On the top of the home screen we have the clock, the date, and the status icons, which are not adjustable, but underneath these icons are 5 adjustable widget slots. The default widgets are pretty useful. In the top slot we have quick launch icons for composing messages, the web browser, the navigation application, and the media player. The second slot is occupied by the weather application, and it's actually one of the best weather applications I've come across. The AccuWeather widget gets you hourly weather updates on your current location. And finally we have some nice weather. Too bad I'm stuck at the office making this review. The Facebook widget on the home screen works well also. You can actually have the newest status updates scrolling on your home screen, because it's always good to know when your friends are off to buy milk or brushing their teeth. Under the Facebook widget you can add your favorite contacts, or not. As default, the lowest slot is occupied by the email widget. On the icon itself you can see headers of the 2 newest emails, and pressing the icon will get you to the email application. The email application works well, and composing emails with the QWERTY keyboard is a delight. Typing with the N97 QWERTY keyboard is very fast, although not quite as fast as typing with the Touch Pro 2 keyboard. It would have also been nice to see a dedicated row of keys for the numbers. Customizing your home screen is a walk in the park. Removing and adding programs is a simple process. There's about a dozen widgets to choose from, and more widgets can be downloaded from the new Nokia Ovi Store. The Ovi Store is Nokia's new application store where you can find a variety of stuff spanning from free wallpapers to all kind of application you can buy. The calendar application on the Symbian is pretty basic. Nothing too fancy, but it's fast and easy to use and gets the job done. A slight disappointment on the device is the YouTube application, or lack thereof it. The YouTube icon in the application menu is a bit deceiving. Pressing it only links you to the YouTube mobile website. So it's not exactly a dedicated YouTube application you see on other devices. But you can always download the third-party YouTube application made for Symbian S60, so it's not too big of a deal. On the other hand, the Symbian web browser was a very positive surprise. The browser works well and scrolling and zooming within pages is smooth and fast. The Symbian browser works well in both landscape and portrait mode. The big screen on the N97 is ideal for web browsing. Most of the time, you won't even have to zoom in to read text. But in certain circumstances, you want to get in nice and close. And zooming in is done by double tapping the screen. Loading times for content-heavy sites on the Symbian are about the same, for example, when loading with Opera Mobile on a Windows mobile device. Navigation on the web browser is done by using the touchscreen. There's also a very good alternative to this if you prefer not to grease up your screen. On the left side of the QWERTY keyboard is the D-pad, which works great with the web browser. When comparing the two navigation methods, I personally prefer using the D-pad. It's fast and accurate, and doesn't smudge up the screen. All in all, I'm quite pleased with the performance of the Symbian web browser. It's relatively fast and seems to be stable, which is a factor when dealing with mobile web browsers. The camera application on the N97 launches with haste. The 5-megapixel camera on the back is accompanied by dual LEDs. LED flashes usually tend to be on the weaker side, so adding a second LED is not a bad idea. I took some test shots with the device in different lighting levels. Autofocus and the LEDs work great, and the camera on the N97 is one of the best I've seen on a mobile device. It takes very good pictures in high light, and the thing that impresses me most is the camera takes very good pictures in low light as well. You can check out my test shots in full resolution at technoreview.com. Okay, let's check out some of the more interesting features. The N97 comes pre-installed with Nokia Maps. It's a navigation program that uses the built-in GPS as well as the internet. A very cool feature in this application is the compass function that rotates the map to where you're going in practically real time. This makes the N97 a very good navigation device for when you are on foot, for example trying to find your favorite sushi bar. While driving around my car, I noticed the GPS signal was not constant, and I also had some GPS lag. But the application got me where I was going, and I'm pretty satisfied with the free application on the device. As I mentioned earlier, the device comes with a whopping 32 gigabytes of internal storage space. So that's plenty of space for pirated, purchased music and videos. The music player on the Symbian is pretty decent. Albums are easily accessed and sound quality is satisfactory. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about video playback. The device supports only a limited amount of codecs, not including DivX, XVID, and H.264, which are probably the most common formats around these days. So if your entire video catalog is in DivX, you're pretty much screwed, unless you want to convert your entire catalog into 3GP format. I could not get Core Player or DivX Mobile to work with the device because they are yet not supported by Symbian S60 5th edition. Eventually these formats probably will be supported, but for now, DivX is a no-go. But the formats the N97 does support, it plays with ease, excluding Flash Video, which is quite the slideshow. For my benchmark video, I'll be using the trailer for a movie called 2012. I was pretty excited when I saw the first teaser for the movie, but after discovering that Roland Emmerich is directing the movie, my expectations aren't too high. His last movie, 10,000 BC, was the worst piece of shit I have ever seen. I mean, it was so bad that I almost cried. But I actually did like Independence Day though. Anyways, the picture quality on the N97 is pretty decent. Colors and contrast are very good, and the screen resolution is quite adequate for video playback. The N97 doesn't even skip a beat when playing the 3GP format at relatively high bit rates. Even though the image quality on the 3GP format may not be perfect, it is still a very decent format for mobile devices. I was quite impressed to see that the N97 could handle the format at 7,000 kilobytes per second. Even though I am unimpressed by the lack of supported codecs, I am impressed by how well the device plays the codecs it does support. In conclusion, the N97 is quite a mixed bag. External features and build quality are excellent. I'm still impressed by the keypad mechanism and the QWERTY keyboard itself, but the Symbian operating system may be a bit too old school for my taste. But it works okay, and the Symbian browser was not bad at all. Is it a perfect device? By all means no. It has a few flaws here and there, but the N97 is definitely a viable upgrade for Nokia fans. The new N-series device arrived with the highest of expectations, and all things considered, the N97 was able to handle most of them. So that's pretty much it for my review. Thanks for watching, and get ready for some more very exciting content to come from Techno Buffalo. LP signing out.